Welcome to this explainer. Today, we are enthusiastically breaking down 4 completely distinct paths you can take to build your wealth. We're going to look at everything from the deeply traditional, the classic US real estate route, all the way over to some truly innovative international investments. My goal here is to lay these options out side by side so you can see exactly how the numbers and trade-offs actually compare. But real quick, before we dive into the deep end, a quick reminder. This explainer is purely a strategic comparison to help you think a little more clearly about your options. It's an educational breakdown, absolutely not financial advice. Always do your own research or chat with a professional before making any massive money moves. All right, here's our roadmap. We'll quickly cover the 4 wealth dimensions, then look at a traditional U.S. mortgage, renting and investing, fractional chalets, Brazilian land, and finally, choosing your wealth strategy. Section 1. Wealth Building Dimensions. The 4 pillars of investment. Okay, so here's the thing. Every single option builds wealth in a fundamentally different dimension. When you're making an investment choice, you're essentially comparing how much you value stability, how much you need liquidity, your desire for actual monthly cash flow, and your timeline for long-term appreciation. So keep these 4 pillars in the back of your mind as we go through each path. Section 2, Path 1, Traditional U.S. Mortgage, Buying the American Dream. Let's start with a familiar baseline. The financial reality for a young individual or couple looking to buy right now is, well, it's pretty sobering. You're facing a $350,000 median price tag for a starter home. That means you need a down payment of anywhere from $17,500 to $70,000. And once you factor in a typical mortgage of roughly $2,200, plus your taxes, insurance, and maintenance, your total monthly burden lands super heavily, right between $2,700 and $2,900 a month. So what's the crucial trade-off here? On the pros side, it's a great forced savings mechanism. It builds equity slowly and gives you immense emotional stability and social validation. Plus, there's some nice tax deductions in there. But look at the cons for a second. It completely drains your monthly cash flow. It brings totally unexpected maintenance surprises, and it ties up practically all your liquidity in a single, highly concentrated physical asset. Ultimately, this traditional route is undeniably best for those who really prioritize putting down roots. If you want a predictable, settled lifestyle, and you have the income to comfortably handle that high monthly load without stressing out, this is your path. Section 3, Path 2, Renting and Investing, the liquidity play. Now, this is where things get really interesting. Notice the clear contrast in mindsets here. On one side, you have the heavy, anchored stability of the homeowner. But on the other, you've got the unmatched mobility and freedom of the renter, who basically takes the difference in housing costs and aggressively invests it right into the market. Think about it like this. If you rent for, say, $1,500 to $2,000 a month, and you put the extra $1,000 you would have spent on a mortgage into diversified ETFs, you're capturing historically strong 7 to 10% annual returns. You have zero maintenance costs, and ultimate liquidity. However, the cons are definitely real. You don't own a physical asset, you're totally vulnerable to rent increases over time, and honestly, it requires incredibly strict personal discipline to keep investing that cash month after month. So, this path perfectly serves the highly disciplined person who highly values their freedom. If you want ultimate mobility, high liquidity, and the ability to just pack up and relocate at a moment's notice while your money quietly compounds in the background, this is definitely for you. But hey, what if we look beyond domestic borders? As one of the project founders noted in our source material, Americans are really conditioned to stay domestic. We tend to assume overseas investment is just too complex. But actually, discovering incredible international opportunities, it literally just requires a little bit of education to overcome those initial doubts. Section 4, Path 3, Fractional Chalet Ownership, Lifestyle and Cash Flow. This perfectly transitions us to our first international alternative. Just look at the incredible setting of this regenerative wellness retreat at Bahia Reboot in Brazil. Here, you aren't just buying lines on a spreadsheet, you are securing a holistic lifestyle, unbelievable wellness programming, and a real community in a beautiful tropical sanctuary. And the math here is fascinating. Check out the 5-investor tier. For an incredibly low entry cost of just $12,000, you are projected an annual net income of $6,400. Guys, that is an astounding 53% cash-on-cash return that completely outpaces typical U.S. real estate or index funds. Plus, you actually get 10 weeks of personal usage every year to go and enjoy the retreat. And you are directly tying that flexible fractional investment to these beautiful biophilic private sanctuaries immersed right in the canopy. You get a formalized sectional title, so it's a real equity stake that you hold, constructed with stunning natural materials. Let's weigh the trade-offs on this one. The pros are huge passive income relative to your investment, deep lifestyle perks, and here's a massive bonus. Because you're buying a chalet share from an operating entity, you don't even need a Brazilian tax ID, a CPF, to enter. It's totally frictionless. The cons? Well, it's not a traditional U.S. asset. It carries project-specific execution risk, and your liquidity totally depends on the resale market for those shares. If you believe in the Bahia Reboot mission and you want a very tangible mix of high cash flow, personal wellness retreats, and easy international diversification without locking up massive amounts of capital, this is absolutely your sweet spot. Section 5. Path 4. Brazilian Land Acquisition Pure Appreciation. Our fourth and final path shifts away from cash flow entirely. Here, through Coastal Horizons Brazil, you're buying a direct piece of a developing coastal region for about $15,000 to $40,000. Now, unlike the fractional chalets, buying land directly means you will need to grab that CPF, which the founders note is as easy as walking into a Brazilian post office. The pros? You own a true hard asset with super low holding costs, and there's incredible long-term appreciation potential as the area develops. The con is that there's absolutely zero cash flow, and it requires immense patience. You're looking at a 5 to 10 plus year horizon here. Section 6. Choosing your wealth strategy. The synthesis. We've explored the safety of the U.S. mortgage, the freedom of ETFs, the cash flow of the chalets, and the long-term play of Brazilian land. And comparing the entry costs here reveals the most striking contrast of our explainer. Just look at the massive barrier to entry for domestic real estate, often $50,000 or more just for the down payment. Compare that to the highly accessible capital requirements in Brazil, where just $12,000 to $15,000 secures you hard coastal land or a high-yielding fractional luxury asset. So I'm going to leave you with this final, provocative thought. You really cannot have all 4 pillars perfectly optimized in a single asset. It's impossible. So based on exactly where you are today in your life, your career, and your goals, which dimension of wealth is going to truly build the future you want? Is it stability, liquidity, cash flow, or appreciation? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and happy strategizing.